Alright, hello everyone. I hope this is working for everyone, and welcome back finally to the Age of Sigmar narrative show. I'm here as always, well, not always because of last week, but I'm here with my co-host, Andrew. How are you, mate?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yep, it does appear that it's working. It's showing up on my other screen, so hooray, it's working.
Winning.
Cool. It's working. Good. We can move on. So, once again, welcome to the Age of Sigmar narrative show. Today, our topic is going to be elves. It was supposed to be our topic a couple of weeks ago, but unfortunately, technical difficulties screwed us up. Thank you very much, YouTube, for changing everything you do. That's helped no one. I'm sure many a host on YouTube has not been happy. For anyone who watched Warhammer Weekly the other week, poor Vince, that was horrible. Same week that we had issues. I don't know if you saw that episode, Andrew, but that was terrible for Vince. I felt so bad.
Yeah, he wasn't happy.
No. But anyway, good. It seems to be working. If anything is not right, please comment and let me know. But it does seem that everything is working fine, so let's move on. And we will start with the news. Because there's been a bit, because we've pretty much been a month since our last show, so there's a decent amount. And we'll start off with the news that came out. So that was why we were going to do our show last week, which was we had Gen Con, which is a board gaming convention, and we saw stuff for what everyone calls Shadespire, but it's actually Warhammer Underworlds. That was GW's great marketing on that everyone calls it Shadespire now.
Yep.
But we saw the two starting warbands for that, which was fantastic. Which were some Beastmen and some really cool Beastmen sculpts at that. They've got a lot of character to them. I was a big fan of them.
Some of the first new Beastmen we've had for a while, actually.
Well, yeah, it would be the first Beastmen we've had since the latter eds of 7th.
Yeah.
And, of course, the reason why we sort of picked this topic, the Kurnothi.
Yeah.
Oh my. They hit all the right buttons for me.
Yeah. Ditto.
Some of my favourite Wood Elf models from way back in the day of the War Dancers. Taking more of the 2nd edition release sort of aesthetic, more than the latter 6th edition one. But they were cool.
And the Orion, which is clearly the influence for this stuff, because Kurnothi in Sigmar.
Yeah, because for those who don't know, in the end times, Orion turned out to actually be Kuranos, which was the god of the hunt, and then he sort of name changed slightly into Kurnoth. We can see where they're going.
So, and I have that model sitting here waiting to get some paint.
I painted mine around this time last year, actually. We had the zombie walk regularly in Adelaide once a year, and so at that time, one of the guys in like my regular gaming group posted, pick a zombie model, so not necessarily a zombie, but a model that's just been sitting on the shelf for ages and painted up for the zombie walk, like as something to tie in. And we're like, that's all cool, we can do that. And so I picked up Orion. So I've had this model since 2006 when he was released.
Yeah.
And not painted him. And so painted him up. He is such a cool model.
I do wonder if some sort of incarnation of him will return with the Kurnothi.
Yeah, well, we will get into that later. We'll get into that later, for sure. There has been, I know it's not necessarily narrative, but a little bit Age of Sigmar news. We've got the latest release for the trading card game coming out, which appears to be cool. I don't really play it all that much, but there's a new new set coming out for that. And I know we're coming up to the release of another big Black Library sort of Age of Sigmar release. And
Warcry.
Yes, Warcry. Yeah, it's been a month, so I've sort of forgotten where we're at here. But yeah, as you said, Warcry. Warcry came out Have you played many games of it at all?
I haven't played it. I've got the book and I've bought cards for several of the factions. I sat and looked at the box, and as much as the terrain is cool, I've got so much of it already. I figured it would probably just sit in the box and not get painted. And I don't want those warbands. I want the crows. So I thought I'll just get the book and the cards, and I've got the Daughters of Cain cards and the Stormcast and the Gloomspite cards, because my wife will be loving the squigs in this.
Yeah, I think I'm much in the same boat. It's like, I do want the Untamed Beast eventually, but obviously I've got a new baby on the way, so money spending at the moment is pulled back quite a bit for Warhammer. So I'm like, well, I'll get what I need to play. So I got the rulebook, I got some Stormcast cards, Daughters of Cain, and Gloomspite, exact same as you there. Are the armies I have.
Yep.
And so I just grabbed them, and I might go grab like the Cypher Lord's box. But just sort of minimal investment for me, just because it's that time. The baby's due in like a couple of months, so not the hobby spending spree at the moment. Plus, I have a lot of terrain, especially since the narrative event where I painted up like 10 tables worth of terrain.
Yeah.
So I own a lot of terrain now.
I have boxes of various starter sets of terrain that are still sitting there unassembled because I don't want to paint terrain. I'd rather paint models.
Yeah, I'm completely over terrain now. I painted terrain non-stop for like 6 months, and I don't want to paint terrain ever again, or at least not for a while.
I have just recently given some kill team terrain to Wes at Centrepiece Miniatures in Canberra to paint because I didn't want to paint it.
Oh, nice. But yeah, so Warcry's been out. I haven't managed to play a game either. I've been a bit tight with time for playing games.
Yeah.
But the hope is I get some in. And I think that's the big hope with Warcry for me, is that it's nice and quick. I've watched battle reports from guys like the re-rolling ones who have done some really great battle reports. I strongly suggest checking them out. Yeah. For battle reports that do the job right, tell you rules, they'll put up little things in their battle reports if they do stuff wrong, like to say, oh look, we missed this, and they have a little pop-up. It's really good for learning games. And they've got a good mix of players there as well, which I like as well, because Jack from Rerolling Ones is a heavy tournament player, and you've got like some narrative gamers as well, so it's a good mix.
Yeah, I think for mine, stuff like Warcraft, it's simply the fact that you can play some quick games without a lot of setup time and stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a big part. I'm not gonna lie about it. So the last thing we've just had revealed was the second Tithe of Bones teaser. So I think we can safely say at this point, and I put up a post about it before, that it's not Tomb Kings.
Yes, there was a lot of it's going to be Tomb Kings, but I think this one's pretty much cemented that it's not Tomb Kings.
Yeah. Who was it? Can't remember who was talking about it. Like, it might be Tomb Kings in the way they play. And that's, I think everyone sort of latched onto that and got the idea of, oh, it's going to be Egyptian themed and all that sort of stuff for Tomb Kings. And that was never said by anyone, or never sort of said in any of the rumours that that was what it was.
No.
If it's going to be Tomb Kings, it's going to be a spiritual successor. So something that takes the idea of the army.
Well, Tomb Kings basically was skeletons. The one sort of, so, you know, all they did is to throw in a few big sort of bone constructs and stuff. And, and it'll play like Tomb Kings used to.
Yeah, maybe it's a death army with priests over wizards.
Something like that.
But, yeah, it's not going to be Tomb Kings as you thought they were. It'll be Tomb Kings potentially in a way that how they used to play, or way the army, the concept. If it is at all.
Yeah, given the way that they've set up, armies like Khorne, where you can effectively have magic that's not magic with all of their various priests. You could potentially do it that way, because we do have a dead army. The Death Rattle army doesn't actually have a spellcaster to lead it. So, they could have the odd priest. Maybe the White Kings themselves get some sort of power to command the dead, raise the dead, or, rally.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go over that. This is all, of course, speculation. We don't actually know anything about this yet. The one fact we do know is this guy was a king, I think he says.
I was a king.
And now I'm an emperor in death. So.
And go around telling people to give him his due or he takes it.
Yeah. I think that's it for the news. I'm sorry if we have missed anything. It's been a while, so there's probably some stuff that's fallen through the gaps there. But we'll leave it at that. We'll get on to some hobby time. What have you been working on?
Well, my Sigmar is still on hold while I wait for Cities of Sigmar, which we'll have a bit of talk about in a minute. And my son is putting his toes, as I said, in the last time we broadcast, back into 40k. So I'm currently painting up a 40k narrative army to take to a narrative event in Wagga in about 2 weeks.
Nice. What is the 40k army?
I have done a Space Marine army by using Primaris and stuff, but like everything, I'm a narrative tragic. So I based the whole thing around Haitian and Louisiana voodoo. They are the astral vipers, and they carry via bottles of sweet spirits, so like rum, with them everywhere to appease the spirits and things like that. I've got some heads, and African heads. So they've all got the ones without helmets are African heads. They've all got little totems, feathers, skulls and things hanging off belts and stuff like that. And I'm in the process of almost finishing now writing a very lengthy background to who they are and where they come from and all that sort of stuff. So.
Nice. Well, as I said, I've been working on Warcry. I'm also building up a Path to Glory force as well. So the Warcry stuff I was painting up Stormcast for, which you can see right here. I've got some Vanguard Hunters, I've done some Vanguard Raptors, Aetherwings, and then it's sort of moving that onto Path to Glory, where I've painted up a Knight Azeros.
Cool.
And she is just a fantastic model. I've had her for ages and wanted to paint her up for a while, so... You go.
Did manage to get hold of the anniversary miniature Stormcast.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, that's a drama in of itself, but I did manage to get them. So she will find a way into one of my Stormcast armies at some point.
Nice. I think I've got one early next month. So I'll go pick her up. I'll probably pick up the Primaris Marine now because I'm also dipping my toes back into 40k.
That was the problem I had. GW haven't actually, and look, I'm far better from I don't usually criticise GW, but the way that they're advertising the anniversary stores in this country is not real flash. So if you go in there, you don't get the model. So like I had to organise for someone to go and pick it up for me in Sydney because I'm 4 hours from Sydney and 2 hours from Canberra, so I can't really get to a store. And so they went in there for me and got told, oh, well, you can ask for it, you can order it, and it might be in a month. So it was a little bit sort of, okay.
Oh, they did this with something else, where you go in and you pay for it and it's ordered to the store?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was ordered to the store, and it was like, well, mate, ordered to the store doesn't really help me because I'm 4 hours away. And because it actually specifically said on their webpage, come in and pick it up.
Yeah. I can't remember. There was something else that we had an issue with that for.
Mm.
I think it actually might have been the old Terminator Chaplain.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I have had that before, and yeah. Although, I guess the benefit of that is they don't run out of stock.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, but it's more not the fact they're doing that, more the fact that it's not clear.
Good old, I think the one issue of what has been the latest topic of GW is communication has not been great in some aspects.
Yeah, because I mean, if they just said, look, come in, order it, we'll get it in for you on the day, and that was clear, then people wouldn't travel 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, I could only imagine how annoyed you would have been if you actually travelled 4 hours.
Right, and even I've got my sister and mum drove out there, and my mum's not young. And they were, I don't know, he said you were going to pick it up, and so they didn't know what the hell was going on. Then I had to call the store manager and go, look, it's all right, just, so drama that didn't really need to happen.
Yeah, could have been avoided.
Yeah.
Right, but, yeah. You go.
But I have them now, so sorted out in the long run, and yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's good information for anyone to know that, yes, you order them in, so be mindful. Has there been anything in the hobby or hobby pages, anything that's taken your fancy this past month or so?
Well, we had the Ever Chosen competition. There was some really nice stuff on the local stores for that. I'm not really sold on the way the Ever Chosen thing runs. Kind of feels like Golden Demon Light.
Yeah, the people power voting system of it.
Yeah, I mean it's the same issue when you have events where with peer voting for painting. People often vote for flashy things.
Yeah, I think Vince was saying this on Warhammer Weekly when he was talking about it when it first came out. He's like, don't paint something perfect in like muddy brown tones because you won't win. It'll be the most perfect miniature in like dry, drab green and browns, earthy tones, and you'll like not get a single vote.
Yeah, and that isn't necessarily a painting competition.
Yeah.
It's because you think some of those people that do the real realistic gritty painting, and if they do that with something like Beasts of Chaos or something, they're going to be quite drab.
Yeah,
they're browns and greys and things like that. So they're not going to grab that attention. And it might be, as you say, it might be these beautiful paint jobs, but they're not going to win.
Yeah. And you have someone who comes in with, I guess, let's look at a Blood Angel Sanguinary Guard that's really striking in colour.
More shiny and,
and that was another thing that sort of got mentioned, I guess, around Everchosen was 40K is a lot more popular. So people, with peer voting, you'll have this natural affinity to vote for models you like as well.
Yeah.
So if you like Blood Angels, you will vote for Blood Angel models just on the instinct of, it's a Blood Angel and that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll like it.
Yeah. And look, wow, that's a really, really nice Blood Angel, and I really like what they've done with that. And I think it's good that they're getting community involvement. I just think from a painting perspective, they should probably not do it that way. Or maybe have it 2 votes, the same way they do with a lot of the conventions now. Have the best public vote and then the GW vote or something.
Yeah, sort of like, I guess, what was it? CanCon had best army and best painted.
Yeah.
Or favourite army and best painted, whatever you go with.
Yeah. If they did that, they'd had that, like the GW staff choose one. Or the heavy metal team choose them if it's in the UK. Then the public choose the other one. I think they're probably going to get a better result.
Yeah, you go, this is a public one, everyone likes this model, that's cool, but then everyone, I guess, without loosening, everyone knows who the technical winner or the technical ability winner is.
That's right.
When you get people looking for things like OSL and blending and all that sort of stuff. Well, I guess my pick, I guess this sort of should have been a little bit in the news. I've just sort of thought about that. But Black Library open submissions are starting soon. So if you are a budding author or ever wanted to write for Black Library, they are doing open submissions on, I believe, August 26th they start, and they go for about a month. I believe. You can go find this on Warhammer Community and get the proper dates, but it's on there. And that's really cool. I really like that they've started doing this yearly. It used to be like once in a blue moon.
And what they're bearing in mind that what they're looking for is sort of the freelance writer type. You're not going to be a permanent in-house GW writer. You're going to be able to write for them, and they will do stuff. You'll do stuff for them, but you're not going to be.
Yeah.
Not going to be a living.
I mean, it could be something for you maybe in the future. I mean, with what was it? Nick Orth was talking about that's how his career there started.
Yeah.
Many people's careers, so you got to get your foot in the door to start. So for anyone who is a budding author and wants to have a go, you don't even need to be an Age of Sigmar fan or 40k fan or anything to do this. Like, if you're a budding author, this is something that a heavily read fiction area that's widely popular. It could be something to get your foot in the door of any sort of writing.
Yeah, and an established company that you can get support from.
Yeah. And I guess I'll add into that, because we've sort of talked about GW competitions, we'll talk about the last one that's coming up, which is Armies on Parade, has been announced.
Yep.
September 17th for us here in Australia, I believe.
Yep. Last down to Belconnen.
Sorry, not September, October. It's not that close. October 17th.
My daughter won Best Youngbloods.
Nice.
Cool.
I painted up a whole Beast School Raider army for last year for it, and then unfortunately my daughter got a cold, so I could not go.
Yep, the joys of Dad Hammer.
Yep. And I think last thing we'll do for a shout out before we get into our topic is Dad Hammer. So yes, it's the name I use online. However, I've started a group which you can find on Facebook. Just look up Dad Hammer Support Group on Facebook. It's something for wargaming dads or mums. You can be a mum and enter, whatever, to come in, have a chat, and have a place where you can ask people who are generally in a similar sort of community area to you to chat about things that are related to dad. It's not technically a hobby space, but it's somewhere that you can chat to other people who've gone through or are going through or whatever about being a dad. It's a tough life, and it's just somewhere you can vent, chat, whatever you need to do. And yeah, you can go look up the Facebook page, and it's just something I thought I'd get started and just see a lot of dads. It's good to see a lot of dads just talking and getting it out there.
It's a really good initiative. Mental health's a big issue amongst men in particular. So anywhere where you've got a safe space to talk, non-judgmentally, is a great initiative, and it's another way that this community can help each other.
Yeah. So yeah, go if you are a dad, you're becoming a dad soon, or you've been a dad and you're not really in that phase, whatever, you can go talk. Because like even the older dads, like we've got a couple of dudes that are granddads in there and not really dads anymore, and they're really good. Like I've had good conversations with them about stuff on there. The older guys. So yeah, go give that a check out. Anyway, on to the topic of today, which is elves. And the reason I wanted to talk about elves is where we think they're going. Now, we had the big model cull, and we won't go into that. I think I've done a video. I've had some chats about that already, and voiced my own opinions. And I think the general consensus is that on set, so we'll put that to the side. Some models have gone, especially high elves, it is what it is. We'll leave it. However, it's sort of given us an indication as to where they're going with elves in Age of Sigmar. So I think for starters we'll go over what's left of the non-major elf factions that have already been released, so not IDK and not Daughters and not Sylvaneth. put them to the side, and what's left. So Wood Elves got off pretty easy. I think we could expect all the metal characters in Finecast to go.
The Glade Guard went, which was interesting.
It is. We've got to remember that they are, I guess, 2016 models.
Yeah.
Not 16, 6. 2006. They're 13-year-old models. And I think we discussed this on our Cities of Sigmar talk the last time we were out, about how we thought units that doubled up might not stay around. We thought it might be Glade Guard that were the ones staying.
Yeah.
But it's instead turned out that Shadow Warriors, who we'll get onto later, were the ones staying. So, if you have Glade Guard, you've got Shadow Warriors now.
Yeah.
I have a lot of Shadow Warriors now. But yeah, what else besides the metal characters and the Glade Guard? They got off pretty okay, I would say. You've got the Nomad print still.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see them rolled into one of the newer factions as well. So.
Yeah, we will get onto all of that. But yeah, so you still got the Eternal Guard Wild Ranger kit, the Cavalry kit of the Sister Thorn Wild Raiders. So they've still got 4 units in a hero. Like they're pretty okay. Oh, and Sisters of the Watch, the other half of the Shadow Warriors kit, of which will lead us into the next elves, which are High Elves. This is probably the one that got hit. These are the ones that got hit.
Yeah.
All that remains is Shadow Warriors, and I guess you count Sister of the Watch, they were High Elves back in 8th edition. And the Phoenix Temple. And that is it. So the Phoenix mounted, which is important to remember, is the foot Phoenix hero stayed as well. So yeah, that is all that's left for High Elves. And then Dark Elves, who literally were not touched. Nothing at all.
But they did, remember we had, though, just not that long ago, they did the whole going off to compendium stuff for all the bits that were already not in the range. So
yeah, I think Dark Elves, well, if I sort of remember, Dark Elves lost more than the other two did, or maybe not Wood Elves. Wood Elves lost a bit of metal kits back in the day. But Dark Elves have lost a bit already.
Yeah.
Now, I think, like we were saying, this sort of comes down to age of kits, but also aesthetic of where we think they're going. Because obviously some of the High Elf kits were new. Like the Skycutter went, which was pretty new, and a couple of other newer kits went. But that is what it is. This is where we are now, and you can only sort of, I guess, look forward from here. Now, first of all, I think we've got obviously the 2 elf races that are, well, 3 if we count Sylvaneth. I think we include Sylvaneth in it. They were part of a Wood Elf army back in the day, so I mean, and some of them are half elf anyway, and Alariel is an elf herself.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 elf armies out. We've got the Sylvaneth, we've got the Ardeneth, and we've got the Daughters of Cain. Now, what's interesting is only one of them is a completely new release, which is the Ardeneth. The Ardeneth are the only ones that are entirely new.
Yeah.
And with what we've talked about in the news, the Kenothi coming, I think we can expect to see more of these half-elf, we'll call them, I guess for lack of a better word, half-elf, corrupted elf, whatever you want, races coming.
And I think there's several reasons for that too. Like, I mean, the big one from GW's perspective is IP, because they've taken, and that's now a Age of Sigmar elf.
Yeah.
But in addition to the aesthetic that they're building for the realms, which is why I'm not, as much as I'm disappointed with like the Swift Talk agents and stuff, I'm not really surprised that so many of the High Elves went, because they really are a Tolkien-esque traditional elf. and that's not what they're trying to do with Sigma.
No. I feel sorry for anyone. I have a huge high elf army, so don't mistake my passing off as it is what it is, as nothing. I feel the pain of it. I have entire Eldritch Council and Swift Orc Agent armies. I even have an army of Lion Rangers that I've lost. However,
if you've been around GW for a while, this is going to happen. I've been around this hobby for 30 odd years, and I've got whole armies that simply sit there gathering dust because you can't use them in any way. It's just the nature of the beast. And that's not, as you say, that's not sort of cheapening what it's for people that have lost stuff, because it sucks. But it's going to happen. It's just what GW does.
Yeah, and they're not the only model company that does it as well. Like, plenty of companies discontinue models. But it doesn't have to be models. I mean, you can look at anything and stuff goes away. You can look at a flavoured chip packet company and a flavour disappears over time.
Yeah.
Like, it happens. Things get discontinued. It is how the world works, unfortunately. Anyway, on to a more positive note. Do you think we're going to see more of these corrupted half elf things coming in the future?
Yeah, I think if the Kenothi, admittedly, at the moment it is Underworld's warfare, but it's clearly something we're going to see. And the fact that they've gone that sort of Celtic mythology / wild elf sort of thing, the fawns and the sort of Satyr type imagery, which again GW can put their spin on copyright. So I think I'm really keen to see what they do with the Kenothi. I think that's a really interesting direction they're going. And as I was saying before, some of those elements of the old Wood Elves could quite easily be rolled into a faction like that.
Yeah, well, it's like I was saying before, we'll start with the Kenothi, I guess. We're talking about them now, so we'll start. Wanderers, where we think they're going as an elf, and I think they're obviously going to be some sort of inspiration, whether or not they're part of the army. I have my personal feeling on the subject is that these combined books, they're finally just updating rules to when they're ready, they'll expand armies out of these books. I think that might be the idea behind it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to see, hopefully, in Age of Sigmar, a lot of those factions rolled together to make them competitive and playable. So when they get the opportunity,
they can drag something out.
Yeah, because the three cities are not isolated in terms of law in the realms. The races that live in the three cities also live in other places. So it's that big a stretch, really.
Well, it's like we've already got the rules in the free cities anyway, that some of them allow Sylvaneth and Caradron and Daughters and Ideneth.
Yeah.
Like, it's not unthinkable to think armies can go the other way.
Yeah.
That Wanderers can turn into a full army sometime later and might turn into Kenothi later.
I mean, if you look at what they did with Daughters of Cain, really all they added was Morathi.
Yeah, that aspect of Morathi, and then you got Bat Elves and Snake Elves from that.
Once they expanded that sort of look, they then added all the old stuff to get into it. So they could potentially do that with the Kenothi and the Wanderers.
Yeah, and it looks like that might be the way. It might not be. Kenothi might be something entirely different. I think the important thing to talk about Kenothi, you're talking about, the Savage Elves, I guess, is a good name for them. They're worshippers of Kurnoth, as their name would suggest.
they're hunters and slayers, things like that.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, Kurnoth is effectively Age of Sigmar Kuranos.
Yeah.
Who, in the end times, Kuranos was actually Orion, the king of the Wood Elves, turned out to be actual Kuranos. Now, he died in the end times, and Alariel picked up his ashes, and that's the last you heard of it. So, and in Age of Sigmar, Kurnoth, the name changes. It's highly likely it is who it is.
Yeah.
Kurnoth is Ariel's consort king. So we might have that same aspect. And we've already got the Kurnoth hunters. They already exist.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see where they go with Kurnothi moving forward. And so we've got these sort of savage elves coming from that, which is interesting.
Yeah. The whole look is very unique, I think.
Yeah, like I was saying before, I think it's a very second edition Wood Elf. The Mohawk War Dancers and all that. War Dancers are what it reminds me of.
I actually reminded me a little bit of some of the elves in old Dark Sun D&D, sort of feral elves.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, so I think that's all we really need to say on Wanderers Kurnothi, that subject. We'll go on to what's left of High Elves. So Shadow Warriors. Be interesting to see what they do with them. We did have a lot of rumours come out. I guess we'll touch on what they mean for the elves now. There was a bit of rumour that the Shadow Warriors get moved into Phoenix Temple. The Dark Elves get moved into two factions, which are Scourge Corsairs and Darkman Covens, and then you have Wanderers.
Yeah.
So you're effectively left with 4 elven factions inside Cities of Sigmar, which doesn't sound too far from a stretch. We've had these combined Dark Elf rumours for a while now. And it just makes sense to lump all the remaining High Elves together. So,
the idea with the Dark Elves coming together too, as I said before, it makes it a functional army.
Yeah.
At the moment, because I've, as some of you know, I've been playing Order Serpentis, and you have a single option for hero or Serpentis, and that's a Dreadlord on a Black Dragon.
Yeah, it's not like a little hero. It's a 300 and something point hero.
Yeah, so you have to take and if you want any sort of anti-magic stuff, you have to take an allied sorceress or something anyway. So rolling them into the Darkman Covens makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Scourge Corsairs, I think they've established them enough in the fluff. Like I mentioned that some of these other things that got discontinued were in narrative in some way, but nothing quite like what the Scourge Corsairs are. Like they're a huge narrative arc.
Yeah, some great stories in those. That Winter's Heart novella is just awesome.
Well, Arik Azenth, the main character from that, who's started off in Cities of Secret, Callous Toll, and now has her own series starting up. She's why I started Scourge Privateers as my army. It's a really cool character, and I think they've really done well with both the Dark Elves that are sort of remaining. Serpentis, not quite so much. We've heard a little bit about them.
Well, there was mention that they're not real keen to do away with them simply because I think the Drakespawn Knights are relatively new kits and they have that unique aesthetic.
Well, yeah, and especially since they changed them to Drakespawn, I think that's important. They're not cold ones anymore.
Yeah.
They're effectively little mini dragons.
Yeah. And the sort of the fluff that I've been writing for my Serpentis is sort of developing that idea as well. The idea that they are breeders of dragons and various drakes. So they could, expand on that range later on if they wanted with the whole sort of Beastmaster motif and the different draconic beasties and things like that. So rolling in the short term into Darkman Covens is probably a good move.
Yeah, and then we get onto Darkened Covens, who their model range might be lacking in a few pieces here and there, like maybe because all of those pretty much got stripped out by, I guess, Daughters of Cain.
Yeah.
But the idea, I really love the idea of the narrative behind Darkened Covens, how it's like a sorceress enthralling all these elves to do her bidding, and even dragons sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the way the army functions, it's like that. When you look at what they left in that range, the Black Guard, who are the bodyguard of the sorceress, and the executioners, who are her, murder of hobos, that sort of thing, and then just the general elves, who are the everyday members of the covenant, who make up your spearmen and your crossbowmen and stuff like that. It's a really nice, fluffy little army.
Yeah, and I think you've got a lot of, especially when you start reading the narrative that they're releasing on Malarian. You've got those bits on like how they do worship him, the Darkened Covens.
Yeah.
So maybe that might be where we're going with the Darkened Covens, and maybe Malarian's Shadow Elves will in fact be the Darkened Covens. Maybe he's enthralling everything.
Well, I mean, possibly, and the same as we were talking about with the Canothi, add a couple of new kits, and all of a sudden you've got a really nice looking range. Because they are nice models, those old ones.
Well, because majority of them would be 8th edition, wouldn't they? I think the Scourge the actual Privateer is the oldest kit in the range over the entire Dark Elf, and even then, I think they were 7th edition Dark Elves. Like, they're not too old either.
Yeah, well, so like the kit itself is a triple kit. You can do them as swordsman, crossbowman, or spearman.
Yeah, so you're not losing anything.
Yeah. And then even the newer Blackguard kit is Blackguard and Executioners in the same box as well. They seem to be the kits that are hanging around.
Yeah, the multiple builds. It is worth mentioning on, I guess, Dark Elves while we're on them, that there is one other sub-faction that we haven't mentioned so far, which is Shadow Blades, which I completely expected to stay around. The Assassin is a newer model, first of all. Yeah. And then the Dark Riders are also Doomfire Warlocks. So, they were always going to stay.
Yeah. And I don't mean that they're not really a faction, although technically a faction in their own right. They're basically two kits.
You could run them, though. Unlike Iron Rangers, you could.
You could. Be pretty boring army to paint. I guess the Black Spray get a run.
Yeah. They are nice models, though. Like, I could see in a Cities of Sigmar army painting up 10 Dark Riders for it or so.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they might actually replace sort of the fluff of, say, the former Dark Elves and the Swiftwing agents, because maybe Dark Riders will become the messengers.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, they're the same thing. It's a light cavalry, and I think goes back to what we were talking about in like our last one on like they're the light cavalry option left.
Yeah.
So you've got Order Serpentis, which is your heavy cavalry, and you've got a light cavalry option. So, which is good for anyone who has Reavers, or what were they, Illyrian Reavers in fantasy. I'd just now use them as Dark Riders or Glade Riders.
Yeah.
What else? They're Dark Riders now.
With elves and horses.
Yep. And I think like the way they've done that, and that's important that they've left options available.
Yeah.
Characters are always going to be an issue, and that was always going to be hard to do no matter what. So that's unfortunate, but it was always going to be hard to make sure all the character models are usable.
Well, the High Elf hero on Griffin just becomes a free guild general on Griffin.
Yeah, there are some that escape, but like there's many like there's no bow hero for a Waywatcher or a Wayfinder anymore. But there's too much of that to try and fit, like make happy. Like, all my Archmages, my Lore Masters, my Spellweavers will just be Battle Wizards now.
Yeah.
You've got places for all these elves. But back onto our Dark Elf topic. Yeah, I think they've done well. There's a decent amount that they can expand upon from here in lots of different ways with Dark Elves. And And we've already seen what they've done with like a small piece of Dark Elves making the Daughters of Cain.
Yeah. And I think too, you think about what they did, what was saying with Daughters of Cain, when basically they had Rathi, and then they had a few of her special people. So yeah, basically winged Dark Elves and snaky Dark Elves, and a whole new faction. If they add an Illyrian, right, and then add maybe an extra dual kit or something, or two, then voila, we have a new faction.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we were saying with Kenothi before, the same thing. And I guess that sort of, let's talk about the last part of the Free City, which is High Elves. The Phoenix Temple, they're the ones that stuck around them. Like, the Shadow Warriors put them to the side. The Phoenix Temple is where the narrative is. The Phoenix Guard and the Phoenixes. It'd be interesting to see what they do. Now, I've had this opinion for a while, and people have probably heard me spout it off. It might be wrong, but what if the Light Elves we've been hearing about are actually Phoenix Elves? And that's the direction they go.
The other thing too is the Phoenix, the Frostheart, the Flames Phoenix are amazing kits that lots of people want to use. So it's the sort of thing, they could keep them, add a couple of options, and there you go.
Yeah, you give some elves some wings, and bam.
So feathered wings as opposed to bat wings.
Yeah, I don't think you're that far off getting an army out of that.
And the thing is, I was saying this before, Teclis screwed up when he made the Ironeth. So if that's what happens when he screws up and now he's had a chance to perfect things, then maybe we will see the angelic sort of host flop around with the Phoenixes.
Yeah, and I think that's like the important part of like the Teclis narrative is we know the Ideneth were the first, and it clearly states first.
Yeah.
Like implying that he did other things.
Clearly screwed up with the Damati.
Yeah.
So go from here.
Yeah. And they were the first Elven Souls, so they were before Daughters of Cain were a thing as well, which is interesting. So it's not just like the first that Teclis made, they were the first elves drawn out of Slaanesh, and that's why they're probably so screwed up. But, yeah, I think that's probably it for the Cities of Sigmar stuff. Like, we don't know an awful lot, and a lot of this is just speculation on them. But I think at this point we can see where stuff is going.
The other thing that we haven't really touched upon is Chaos Elves. Because, the potential is there with the stuff that's coming out with Warcry, where you've basically got different races, of all the races being members of these war bands. Maybe we'll end up seeing some Chaos Elves as well.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point to touch on. Chaos touches all. In Warcry, we've now seen an ogre, a dwarf, and the Iron Golems. There's an elf in Splintered Fang. And I wouldn't be surprised to see like more stuff like that. And I think that's cool that we've seen all these different races.
Yeah. It sort of harkens back to sort of third sort of fantasy with the big realm of Chaos books, where the Chaos Champion could be of any race.
Yeah. Well, elves were always that one that like never got touched. Chaos Dwarves have been a thing for ages. Or Legion of Asgore, whatever you want to call them. They've been a thing for a while in Games Workshop games. But elves were always, I guess, that sort of thing that never got touched by Chaos.
Well, in the old realm of Chaos books, the Lost and the Damned and the other one, basically, you could actually roll up, because you could roll up, you could actually roll up an elf champion of Chaos, but it was like a little percentage roll. I think the percentage for an elf was like 2% chance, because they generally were untouched. But it was still, the potential was still there, so...
Yeah. But, that's definitely a cool way that You can go, and I mean, it's like we're saying with a lot of this. I think most of the elves elves are all coming out of Slanish's gut.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that some are so corrupted that they just fall to chaos.
They come out and they go, actually, I'm quite happy being in there, so...
Yeah. So I think it's very likely that maybe one day in the future we might see a Chaos Elf faction. Or units or models, whatever.
Maybe just even as part of Slaves to Darkness.
Yeah, just a couple of unit options, a dual kit of 2 elf units. Maybe that's how you get bows into Chaos.
Possibly, yeah. So there's one in the... There's a Splinter Fang, I think. It's got the ultimate, doesn't it?
Yeah, the snake dudes.
Yeah. So, you potentially... a couple of those cultists in your army, these are your Chaos Elves.
Yeah. So we'll move on to chatting about the 3 established factions that we have and where we think they're going in the future as well. Because I was sort of inspired, like talking about this subject and where we see these things going. So we'll start with the one that was released first, which is the Sylvaneth. Yes, we've just got a new battle tome for them. However, we sort of do know that these battle tomes at the moment are coming out. I don't want to use the term too much, but they are stopgap battle tomes. They're to get everything up to date and playable in the current edition of rules.
Yeah.
And it is fine that is what it is. It was a good thing for 40k. We're finally seeing in 40k that, yes, the fast battle tome release was a good thing. And now 40k is starting to get more and more models now.
Yeah.
And we're just going to go through this little Baron spell with very little models for Aelves, but we're going to get battle tomes that are updated and everyone's going to have a rule set that is at least playable.
Yeah.
Which is fine. For all the talk of me and you, we like narrative, it's nice to have your army on a level playing field. You can have all the narrative in the world, but if your army gets removed turn 1, you're not having a good day.
Yeah. And when we were saying that the newer factions come out like Flesh Eaters and that ilk, who do simply remove you from the table straight away, it's pretty crap.
Yeah. But it's good to see that everyone is getting updated with abilities that allow you to play in this manner. For whatever style of play you decide to play, it's good to just have everything. It'll never be perfect, and it never will. But it's good to be in the mix.
But I don't see a lot of the people that are generally playing those armies are playing it out of sort of love and nostalgia.
Well, yeah.
So it's not... The competitive side is never going to be paramount, but being able, as you say, just to not have your army tabled in one turn is always a plus.
Yeah, I think, you touched on a good subject there, is that don't hate on people that are playing these armies. Because, you could look at Vince from Warhammer Weekly. He's been a Skaven fanboy, a Slanesh fanboy for God knows how long, and I've heard him talking about wanting to get those armies, and all of a sudden he is the meta.
Yeah.
And he had no part in that. He's playing those armies long before they came out.
Yeah, that's my only fear with Cities of Sigmar.
Is that me and you all of a sudden start top tabling.
Because our armies are really competitive. You're just doing that because no, I've been playing it for a long time.
Hey, I've had to put up with so much stuff with Scourge Privateers. When they come out and they're busted, I do not care.
Well, yeah, but, was it Sydney GT last year where I won the first 3 straight games with Order Serpentis?
Yeah, I think that's where we really started talking, when I'm just like, hang on, what?
And oh shit, okay. And then people realise what to do about them and they just don't.
Yeah. But anyway, on to the first one, which was Sylvaneth. I think we're expecting to see more of the Kurnoth side. We got a little bit with it on this, with the what's he called? What's the new hero called?
Oh, the Revenant, Arch Revenant.
Arch Revenant, that's the one. He's a Kurnoth worshipper.
Yeah.
And then we're getting the Kurnothi.
With his big bug on his back.
Yeah, I hope that's the tree revenant thing is what I hope they expand to Sylvaneth in the future. We saw it a little bit in the Shadespire Warband.
Yeah.
With like the bow and even the Thorn Witch and stuff like that. I hope that's where they go with Sylvaneth.
Well, I mean, the narrative there too. You can go with that. You know, the more elven souls that Ariel tries to save, the more of these revenant types appear. So they could go that route.
Yeah, I guess the one important part of the narrative to remember with Alariel is she's not part of the taking souls out of Slaanesh pact.
She just it's her own.
Yeah, she's completely separate from that, and she's the only elf goddess like god that is. So it'd be interesting to see how they tell the story more of how she's involved in like getting more elf souls, because obviously she's got some from somewhere.
Yeah, sort of that's what I mean. If they go down that route and they're sort of jamming the elf souls inside trees, we get more of these sort of half elf, half Sylvaneth types.
Which could be interesting, I guess, in the future, that unlike, say, the Daughters of Cain, her elves aren't corrupted.
Yeah.
So, like, you're looking for the elves, like, yes, okay, they're part tree people, but they're not, like, chaos corrupted. Like, say, the Daughters of Cain are.
Yeah, snake people and stuff.
Because of chaos.
Yeah.
Because that's just who Alariel is.
Yeah.
So that's a interesting sort of, I guess, the thing that sets the Sylvaneth apart from all the rest is how she's getting more souls, but also how she's stopping, like, corruption. And obviously the Kurnoth stuff coming to light, like, I think that's going to be a big part of it.
Well, there is also the potential there that the Kurnothi themselves are not necessarily a fan of Alariel. Because if she's jamming the people she's saving inside trees, and Kurnoth obviously getting them to embrace their inner beast, and the hooves and stuff, maybe they don't really get on.
Yeah, maybe that. I had a thought and now I've lost it. But yeah, the Kurnoth stuff is like the interesting way to go forward with them. So we'll move on to, I guess, the next one, which was released, which was Daughters of Cain, which I guess these were the first proper elves we received in Age of Sigmar, where they were elves first and not trees first.
Yeah.
Not trees with elves, these are elves with snake or bat. And I remember all the hype. I still think to this day the videos they put out from Marathi are the best. The voice actor is so spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got Marathi sitting there next to me in a box that I haven't put together yet, so that'll be there one day.
I've got the lady. She just needs to be painted now.
Yeah.
She's so cool. She sits behind there. One day I'll paint you Marathi. One day. My only problem in Marathi is I have to paint like 90 witch elves to go with her.
Yeah, so I don't have to paint any more witch elves, because I've got some of my free cities, so I don't need that many more, but it's not an effective Daughters army because I don't have a million of them.
Yeah. That was just my issue with Daughters, and that, I guess, is where I hope they expand. I want more options for the baseline troop of this.
Yeah.
Or more.
I think that could almost be said for a lot of the ranges in Sigmar, and I think they are starting to address it.
They are. I think the problem with we say adding the old kits in is good, but the Daughters, you got to remember, like one kit.
Yeah.
And so it is. You can have Sister Slaughter or Witch Elves and whichever version of them you have, but they are very samey.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't have Fire Slayers. Like the same reason, it's just samey.
Yeah. The options, the same thing. Fire Slayers. These are Heartguard, these are Berserkers, these are okay. But how do I tell the difference?
Yeah. that's, I guess, my biggest thing is just like another basic troop. The other thing I really hope for Daughters of Cain that we get is the ability to buy the heroes outside of the hero box.
Yeah.
Give me a Clan Pack Medusa, Hag Queen, and Slaughter Queen, please.
Yeah.
So I don't have to buy a Cauldron of Blood.
Or go on eBay and pay some stupid cost.
Yeah. There's a reason why I made the Blood Swamp table for the narrative event, because I had 4 spare Cauldrons of Blood.
Yeah.
That I could hack apart and didn't need.
Let's see what's behind me.
But I think that's really all Daughters of Cain need. They've got enough elite units. They've got 2 units of Harpies, 2 units of Snake People.
And they really are very effective.
Yeah, probably more than any of the ones we're talking about. They're the ones that consistently... and we'll get onto why Idoneth I don't think fit in that bracket, mainly because there is one build.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen multiple Daughters. We saw a Snake, a Temple Nest do well at CanCon. Obviously Witch Elf spam works, Sister Slaughter spam works, a mix of the two works.
Even the Shadowhammer compact with the right build works.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, Daughters work. They might need maybe a little bit of update into the activation wars, but even then they get around that because they've got hero phase activations and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found, like, even with my own Scourge Privateers, it's how I compete in activation wars with Privateers. So that is a valid way, I guess.
Yeah. Serpentis have got nothing for activation wars.
Yeah.
It's just die.
But yeah, there's not much. And so I guess on the narrative side of Daughters of Cain, they are utterly corrupted. Like, Morathi, their god herself is so corrupted, it's not funny.
I mean, their whole life is based on a lie.
Some know it's a lie. Some willingly accept it's a lie and still try to go ahead and follow Morathi willingly. Hagnar.
But for the most part.
Is it the Kraith that knows she's lying to them and don't like her?
Might be. It's one of them.
It's one of them. I think it's the Kraith. That's why they have the worst allegiance ability stuff, because they know, and Morathi goes, you can't have good rules. But
I don't think Kane's really alive.
Shh. No good rules for you. No. But yeah. And I guess we'll touch on that subject. For those who don't know, Cain is not alive, and he can't come back alive so long as Morathi's alive, because she holds his heart. And she tells everyone that, oh, worship Cain and all his power goes into his heart, and one day I can resurrect him. But doesn't tell anyone that she's siphoning that worship.
Keeping it all for herself.
Yeah.
He's such a lot.
Yeah. She is that character. There's 2 characters in Age of Sigmar and 2 characters in fantasy, and they're still the same people that are the biggest douches in all of Warhammer. And there's Morathi and Mannfred, and they're still the 2 biggest.
I think certain Herald likes.
I love Mannfred, and I love him because of all that. But there's no denying that the dude is an absolute dick.
Yep.
But that's the reason you love him. It's the same with Morathi. It's why you like Morathi. She's so manipulative and so cunning and so good at it.
And then when she hulks out cooler.
Yeah. So yeah. The thing with, like, compared to the Sylvaneth, these guys are like the furthest end of the spectrum, because Morathi was actually inside Slaanesh, so she's the only one of the gods, the Elven gods, that was actually with the Elven souls at some point. Like Tyrion, Teclis, Alariel, and Malarian all weren't in there.
She's not happy about it.
No. And so that's why they have all this illusion magic and stuff like that. She tries to hide it, but then when she loses her temper, she goes Hulk mode.
And she is Malarian's mum.
Yeah. for those who haven't played in fantasy and don't know, yes, she is Malarian's mother.
And lover.
Yeah, it's a weird relationship. If you like Game of Thrones, read the Dark Elf books. And at one point Tyrion's as well in the end times.
Yes. Yeah. She puts it about.
She tried to be Nagash's at one point as well.
Yeah.
When you get turned down by Nagash, who probably doesn't have too many people hit on him, you know you're doing a bad thing.
Nagash is really capable.
But yeah, she's really that succubus sort of element to her as well, in like her story. Like, she tries to use beauty and all that to get her way.
Yeah.
And so do the daughters in a lot of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's the daughters. See, that's part of the illusion thing as well. In the narrative, the idea that oh wow, look how stunning she is, and out comes a knife, and you're holding your heart in hand.
Yeah, and they tell that in quite a few stories of like the daughters of Cain. They look absolutely beautiful, and like any mortal that sees them just is like beguiled by like their beauty. And all of a sudden, there's a knife in your back, and they take your gold.
Yeah. Right up until like
Yep. I still remember. Can't remember when Daughters of Cain were being released. The Brave. It was pretty much Brave Sir Robin redone into like a really like whole thing. Brave Sir. I can't remember the name of the dude now. And like he went and saw the Elven Queen, who was so beautiful, and then they ended up killing him. They took his heart. So that's really it for the Daughters of Cain. Like, I think out of all the elves, they're the best off. Like, they're fleshed out pretty well. They probably just need a few model releases just to make it so the range is easier to get into. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Mainly characters, more than anything. And so that brings us on to our last elven faction, which is the Idnef Deepkin, who are the only completely new faction of elves.
Fish elves.
Yeah, Codex Fish People. It happened.
Yeah, it did.
I don't know what. Like, GW have given us all the complaints we want. We've got Codex Fish People. We've got Sisters of Battle. We've got Squats.
Yep.
They're just going to hold out on us for Tomb Kings.
And Bretonians.
Yeah. Well, no, we have Bretonians. We've got Flesh Eater Courts. Oh dear.
The whole sort of flying through the sea and stuff was very clever. Because one of the biggest issues you have with any sort of aquatic army is why they fighting on land.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, Idneth, they were the first elven souls dragged out of Slaanesh. And Teclis, because he was the one who made the big plan, he got them.
Yeah, and screwed up.
And he screwed up, but it could also be partly just because they're the first ones that came out. Maybe they didn't know what to do with them. So it might not be Teclis' fault. It's probably Teclis' fault, but it might not be. It's hard not to blame Teclis. See, he, unlike Marathi and Manfred, is a douche that you hate.
What are you doing?
Yeah, he's the one you get angry at. The other one are lovable assholes.
Yeah.
He's not. But
it's just arrogant.
Yeah. I don't know. I always think of Teclis like if he was in Game of Thrones, he would be Littlefinger.
Yeah. I have my own sort of agenda going on, and I'll help you, but you know.
Yeah, he is utterly Littlefinger. And will get his comeuppance one day. Probably not.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Idneth. Yeah, sea elves. And so what happened is they came out and then they realised like that something was wrong, and they fled from Teclis.
Under the.
I think it's an important part to note that Teclis didn't try to destroy them. Like everyone sort of has that opinion, but it's actually the Idnef that fled from him because they thought he was going to destroy them.
And they fled because the greater portion of them when they came out, they were the Tyrion, Teclis, Valerian worked out that, well, we didn't really get all their souls out. We just kind of got this blank, ink. So the main cast of society, the Mars, don't actually have souls.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with them, and it's just like, something's not right, and so their souls deteriorate over time. The Nomati, that is. The Akelians are fine.
Yeah.
However, the Akelians make up only about 2% of the race. And so they now go hunting for souls begrudgingly because they have to. They have no choice.
So they can kind of eat or something.
Yeah.
Assume.
Yeah. And they sort of, it's this I guess noble in a way, like a noble curse. It's like they don't want to do this. There was a couple of short stories that came out in my Importance Forum. It's like, we don't want to be doing this, but we have to.
We want to survive.
Yeah. We don't want to do this, but we also don't want to die. And it's that conundrum of like when the paladin is part of your group in D&D and doesn't want to do the evil but has to do it.
Yeah.
Has to kill the big bad guy even if he's unarmed, just because he'll do too much bad to the world. It's that sort of like forced evil upon them.
And it's also interesting the role that the Idnef play in Shaiish, because Nagash would be very happy with them taking his souls.
No. Well, there's is it Morphan? Morphan's the one in Death.
Yeah.
And how they've literally put, because when you die in the Immortal Realms, you go to the hell or the afterlife of whatever you think is the afterlife. It exists in Shaiish. And it may have been taken over by Nagash at some point, that you just end up being part of Nagash, but there are many that aren't.
Yeah.
And so Morphan Enclave have created this thing with sea travelers across the realms that when they die, they go to this pit. And the Morphan collect their souls there. So they effectively create this afterlife that now exists in the realm of death and collect your soul after you die.
Yeah. Convenient.
Yeah. So, interesting. But as we mentioned, sea elves is the thing, and so they live underwater, but they don't breathe water. They create this magic that allows them to breathe underwater. All this illusionary magic. Because they went underwater because they're like, well, where can't this Teclis dude find us? At the bottom of the sea.
And it's the same magic sort of reverse that they use when they ride their fishy mounts onto land. So the fishy mount sort of gets surrounded by this illusory sea, which allows them to fly through the air like they're swimming.
Yeah, and it's all illusion magic, effectively. Illusion with some form of substance, to a degree. And so, they've got this sort of noble but evil elf faction. And I think, like, people always ask, like, why are they part of Order? Same with Daughters of Cain. And it's like, Order literally doesn't mean you're a good guy. And I think, like, it was very purposeful when Games Workshop named the Grand Alliance Order.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't say good guys.
Yeah. Well, I think they were taking a leaf from 40k there, where the Imperium are supposedly the good guys, but they're not really the good guys.
Yeah, it's I think that's the point. And so they've probably got the best chance of like the range expanding because they are something entirely new. Like you can imagine so much stuff coming out of this range in the future. Like just think of another sea creature and it'll be there.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah, because what have we got? We've got eels, turtle, seahorse, shark. And then a whole bunch of little fishy things around the place.
Oh, yeah, he's like a piranha swarm or a big manta ray or something.
Yeah, or I know people have said crab, but I'd much prefer something like lobster or crayfish. I think it's the better way to go. Just got a bigger thing to work with. Where you like manta ray, a giant manta ray, or something like that.
When they come back around to once all the various factions have got their battle time, they come back around to start adding stuff. We'll probably see that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think IDNF. I can't wait for IDNF 2.0. Very much like KO 2.0. Whether or not it's this KO book or the next KO book that sees new models, I can't wait for that book as well. But yeah, so IDNF are corrupted, but not chaosy corrupted. Well, not as utterly corrupted as daughters.
Yeah, it's not malevolent corruption. It's not their fault.
Yeah. And I think that there gives us our point of like why we think all these elven souls coming out of Slaanesh are corrupted in some way. And so it doesn't matter what the god was, they're all corrupted in some way, for good or worse.
Yeah. Which is where it's very interesting where you find out what sort of fluff they put with Anarchy. Where are they?
Yeah. But yeah. So I guess now we'll talk about final thoughts on elves before we wrap up for the night. So what are your thoughts on the elves and what, like, an overall view? Like, do you think we've sort of hit a nail on the head? Like, this is how we're going to go for elves?
Well, I think in terms of the older kits, the old ranges, in particular what used to be the Dark Elves, I think we're going to see sub-factions of them in Cities of Sigmar and all rolling together. That's probably where that's headed. At least until some time when they expand the range. I honestly don't know what they're going to do with those little bits that are left over from the High Elves. If, as you said, the Phoenix become the Light Elves, well, they're going to have to add a fair bit because there's not a lot left.
Yeah. I think on that point, I think it's just what is it? Yeah, the Phoenix Elves. But then we've got to remember, like, Daughters of Cain were like, what, 2 kits?
Yeah.
So it's the same amount of kit. Well, there's actually technically more kits because we've got 3 when you count the Clan Pack hero.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they'll probably see a release or something. They've got an entire free city based upon them.
Yeah. Definition, yeah. Which is probably why they survived.
Yeah, well, it's the reason, like, I guess my Scourge Privateers survived as well. It's like it's easier to write out that dude that's got a mention somewhere.
Yeah.
Than the faction that you've literally built so much upon.
Yeah.
And especially when, like, the Phoenixium is like a major point because we all played a narrative campaign globally for the Phoenixium.
Yeah.
So you sort of can't remove that, or you've made us a massive part of your narrative disappear.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it's like they push the narrative as like all the releases. It's like when I think releases are coming, it's like, oh well, you got to get the story. That's why I don't think Light Elves are all that close yet.
Yeah.
Because Slaanesh hasn't been released yet. When he's released, I think then we'll see the Elves come out.
Yeah, once we start seeing when Whether or not we actually get a model for the various Elven gods remains to be seen. I mean, as we said, Marathi isn't technically a god.
We do have Alariel though, and she is.
Yeah, we have Alariel. We haven't seen from the other race. We haven't seen Grungni. We haven't seen obviously Sigmar.
I think that's the thing with Sigmar though. He's not supposed to come out anymore. He's changed. He's changed. What was it? The whole part of I've realised that I'm no longer needed as a warrior. I'm needed as a king.
Yeah. But I mean, Grungni's in a lot of the fiction. We haven't got him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe. So what happens. And it'd be interesting to see how what in terms of story and even in terms of battle, what they do with that. Because Marath is amazing. Nagash is amazing.
Alariel's probably still my favourite model in Age of Sigmar. She's.
What can they do with some of these basics just to help wizard? What they can do.
Yeah, I do think you're going to get Tyrion and Teclis as one.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned the part where Tyrion's blind now.
Yeah. Remember there was that model of Tharion?
Yeah.
Yeah, the blind one.
Yeah, because he got blinded by Grom the Paunch or something, I believe.
So it'd be interesting to see. He's a god. He probably his eyes anyway.
Yeah, I think the thing was him and Teclis are much more connected than they used to be now. So it'd be interesting. It'd be nice if they're two god models that are sort of connected in some way.
Yeah.
And then of course Malarian. Malarian's going to be interesting because he didn't merge with his dragon. It's important to remember that. That is nothing but rumour mill. He merged with the Realm of Shadows, so he's Shadow.
Yep.
Which is going to be quite interesting to see how they if they make a model of Malarian, how they model that.
Yeah.
How do you model someone that's made of shadows?
Might be a sort of the spirits riding around in Gash, maybe something like that.
Yeah, very much could be. I think he's the one I'm most looking forward to out of any of them left. Is Malarian.
Yeah, and I mean, we might actually see him sooner rather than later if there's some of the rumours of what they're doing with the Elves and the Free Cities comes true. So.
Yeah, I think because he's not technically part of the response unit, I imagine seeing. I think Tyrion and Teclis won't appear until Slanesh is breaking free or broken free.
Yeah. And then obviously we're getting that new Death faction next.
Yeah. Which reminds me, what we might be doing on our next narrative show, providing no battle tome drops in the meantime, is probably looking at Death. Because there's quite a bit of interest in the Mortarks there, I think. And it's probably something we haven't really touched a lot on about. We've done a lot of order stuff and a bit of chaos here and there. We've not really done anything Death related. And so, but we'll see what we talk about. I'll post up as always on what we talk about. But I think we're pretty much done for this evening. Had a good chat about elves and where we think they're going to go. We'll come back and touch on this once we see some more stuff, especially once we see the Cities of Sigmar. We'll still do, when Cities of Sigmar release, we'll probably do quite a decent show on that.
Yep.
It's something very close to both mine and Andrew's hearts.
Swearing on that one.
Yeah, I think there's just going to be a lot of narrative to go through, and especially since we did the last one on what we know so far, and it'll be nice to see what the end result is. And so we'll definitely, if Cities of Sigmar drops in between now and then, we'll be doing a show on that, providing we've had enough time to get the books and read through them.
I'm just hoping they rise GT.
Yeah, no more tournaments for me for a while, unfortunately. Too close to above for me. Sydney GT seems to always happen when I'm having children. I couldn't attend last year because my daughter was only about a month old.
Yeah, but see, then when they get older, like mine, and then you can take them with you, and they can play.
Yep, that's the plan. So we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. So thank you for everyone who's watched. Thank you for everyone who will watch this and watch it back. As always, you can find us both on Twitter. I'm at DadHammerNeo. Andrew?
At Lord of Tuatha, or El Tuatha.
Yep. And you can find both. I'm generally on all the Facebook groups. I run the majority of them under Cinderful Gaming. You can find that on Facebook. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video and subscribe to the channel, please. If you want to help us out more by definitely investing in some new mics is what we're working on. And especially for stuff coming up, you can support us on our Patreon. There's a link down below for that. And thank you to everyone who does already support the channel. Your support is very much appreciated. You know who you are. Thank you very much. So without that, we will see you all again real soon. Have a good couple of weeks, and we'll chat soon, everyone. Ciao.
Yeah.